Well, hello there. It is one of my favorite times of the week, and that is stamp time. I am coming to you a day late. Sorry about that, but things just pop up and get in the way sometimes, and we have to make adjustments. And that's the beauty of having your own business, right? You can fix things to just what you need it to be. All right, today's class is a pickup stamp class, and this one is called Leaves and Trees. And I'm specifically taking a look at the Thoughtful Journey 6x6 DSP. This is beautiful DSP, and I think you're gonna wanna get your hands on a pack of it. All right, hello Kathleen. Hello Kat. And there's one more that I can't, there's two more that I can't see, but now that I have some numbers in that upper left corner there, that's my cue to say, good Friday morning and welcome to the Backstage Pass. It's always fun to be here with you and to create along with you, or just, create in front of you, but maybe you might be inspired by something so that you go and get your fingers inky yourself. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and rotate my screen and my phone, whatever you wanna call it, and we're gonna get started. All right, here comes the hand. And there's the ceiling. All right, let's see here. Okay. So, just tightening things up. I'm not quite sure. Okay. All right, let me get you a little more flat so we're not quite so keystoned. Okay. All right, fix the lighting. I think we are about set. Good morning, Terry. Saw you just popped on. Good morning to anybody who pops on. It's always fantastic to have everybody here. Okay, announcements. So today is the last day to use this host code and sign up for the Sophisticated Sled Technique Time Stamp class. So this class, do you want to see a few sneak peeks? A real quick sneak peek? All right, let me give you a fast sneak peek of what we've got coming up here. You guys, these cards are super fun. They're beautiful. I love them, love them. Here's another one. Whoa, that's it. That's all you get. Just a quick look at the cards that we're going to be making next week in this class. Now, you can purchase this class for $35 and it'll ship right to your door. Or with a purchase of $50, it will ship right to your door using this host code. With a purchase of $75, it will ship to your door along with next month's Use It Up kit. So, all right, here we go. For October, we will be upstyling our paper pumpkin on Thursday, October 3rd. I received my kit on Monday. I've looked at it, but I haven't had a chance to really start to dive into it just yet, but I plan to. I have a special announcement. My announcement is that I am a part of a new team. It's called Paper Pumpkin Creatives, and starting with this Autumn Abundance kit, we will be offering PDFs to our team members and our Paper Pumpkin subscribers. The only way you can get that PDF is either as being one of my team members or as being a Paper Pumpkin subscriber through me, Elizabeth Price. That's going to be fun. Okay, I mentioned that you could get 2 kits with a $75 purchase. These are the 2 kits. The Sophisticated Sled, beautiful cards, and the Use It Up for October, which is more than autumn. That's the name of the bundle we're using. This is going to be fun. I have lots of little products that we're using up in this kit. And so you're going to want to get your hands on that. And the only way to get that is with a $75 purchase. on the current host code, which is this one right here. All right, moving right along. A little bit festive. This is a mini camp. So instead of studioing spots and we've got the full 4 days, this we're going to do half a camp. We're going to put it into one day. It'll be an all-day event on Saturday, October 26th. Registration has already opened, and there are two options this time. There's the full kit or the PDF. The full kit I keep to a minimum because I want this to be it's an artfully avid style, and so it's quickly selling out. So please, if you want to participate and receive the kit, which has more than $45 worth of brand new Stampin' Up! Products in it, you're going to want to join. The option 1 is $89. The option 2 is $23. And the option 2 is the PDF. But it gets you access to everything so you can watch and you can create your own kit. Gonna be fun. It's gonna be a little bit of everything. Lori Healy asked, what are we making? And I said, well, it's cards, tags, bags, packaging, you name it, whatever you might need for the holiday season. All right, that is October, and that will preempt Technique Time in October. Technique Time, let's see. Let's go to Technique Time for November. Just put this on your calendar and take a look at the Reindeer Days Sweet Collection. This is going to be a fun, sweet little Technique Time. It will focus on more tags and cards, things that you're going to need for the holiday season. And that will be the last, well, nope, it's not the last Christmas holiday class. The last holiday class will actually be in the Use It Up for December. And then that's it. Okay. So there you have it, folks. Those are classes coming up. Mark your calendars. I hope you'll attend one or two. And now on for today's show. Here we go. So this is the paper that I'm featuring today. So rather than a stamp set or a bundle, I'm featuring paper. And you guys, woo-wee, wow, this paper is so cool. It is filled with watercolors and washes. The backgrounds, many of them are watercolor washes. But gosh, is this pretty stuff. And it reminds me of the Meandering Meadows or the autumn paper that we have right now. They're 6x6 and they have some scenes in them. And sometimes we go, well, how do I create with such a big scene? Well, I'm going to show you that today. Look how pretty this one is. That's what I'm calling a watercolor wash. Here are some trees. I didn't use this print today, but I plan on it. There's the back. Here's another one with trees. So if you see here that there are, 4 pieces, I didn't use it, but look how pretty that is. I want to use it. There's the back. And then this one, there's kind of another variation of this in like more of an autumn palette, but look how pretty that is. So you can see these work for winter, spring, summer, or fall. Okay. We're going to use this one today because it has a fall feel to it. But what's interesting is it has a fall feel to it, yet there's still this nice bright blue sky in there. So kind of fun. Okay. Gosh, this one could be like a lake. Who knows? Here's another one that I said. So there's like 3 variations of this with these cool like sprays up above. Okay, you're getting the idea though, right? So here's this one. Oops, this is another one of those. Oh no, it's a different thing. It just looks the same on the back. So what's cool is like, say you were doing some scrapbooking in a 6x6 album, you can kind of cross these over. Anyhow, we're going to use this one today. You get the feel. Pretty, pretty, pretty paper. I highly recommend it. There is an entire suite based with this paper in it. It's called Thoughtful Journey, and it is in the annual catalog. I encourage you to take a look at it. I just bought the paper. I didn't buy any other items in it because to me, that's a way of getting the feel and the sense of a bundle without purchasing the whole bundle or the whole suite collection when you're kind of, wanting to do things on a budget. Okay, let's start with our first card. And for this first card, I'm going to start with a half a sheet of Lost Lagoon. And I have a frog in my throat at just the wrong time. And we're going to put some score lines in here. And our first score line that we're going to put in is going to be at, I'm just measuring here, it's going to be at 1.5 and 4 1/4. So let me get my trimmer out here. 1.5 and 4 1/4. And we're going to do this along the long edge of the half sheet of Lost Lagoon. So 1.5. There's 1.5. You're going to score there. And 4 1/4. And so this design here, Julie Beltramo shared this with us in the last Studio Ink Spots. And it's a great way to use paper that has a design on it. So let me show you the paper we're going to use for this card. We're going to use this one. This is kind of the first one I showed you. And then this flap here where we did the 1.5, we're going to fold this one back. So let's give a good burnish there and a nice burnish there. Okay, so now we're going to be adding some papers to this. And so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to trim my paper down, my DSP paper. I'm going to take 3/4 off the top there. Well, I actually think I'm going to take a little off the top and a little off the bottom because I kind of want to keep this flower whole. So I want it to be 5 1/4, but like I say, I don't want to chop into that flower there. So I'm just taking some off there, and then I'm going to rotate this. And now I'm going to put this edge at 5 1/4, and we'll take that much off. Okay, so that's it for that. Okay, and now we're going to be putting some, excuse me, we're going to trim our DSP here. And what we're going to do is trim it. This piece here, our first piece, is going to be 2 3/4 inches wide. So 2 3/4, that's going to be our first piece. And it's going to set here on our card. And then we're going to cut this piece. We're going to cut this piece down to be 1 1/4 is our next cut. So we're going to cut right through that flower, but don't fear, we're going to see all of this beautiful paper. There's 1 1/4. And then this piece, we're not going to do anything. It's already the perfect measurement. So let's go over those measurements one more time. So our piece here is 6 wide by 5 1/4. Then we cut across the longer side at 2 3/4. And then our next cut was at 1 1/4. And then we have what's left. All right, so let me set this aside. Okay, so I also have, and we're going to just keep these in order, I also have a couple pieces of white here. And the one white, this is definitely, both pieces are 5 1/4 inches tall. This one, you can kind of fudge this measurement here. It's not as important. This one here is 2 1/4 inches wide. So let's start to assemble these pieces, and you can see how this card is going to work. So I'm going to start first with this piece, and I'm going to set that. This is going to go on the inside, and I'm going to give myself an even top, side, and bottom border. Hello, Kathleen. It's good to have you here. We have 2 Kathleens on right now. Okay. So here's my piece. This is the white that's 2 1/4 inches wide. And I'm going to set it over here on this right side with an even top, side, and bottom border. I'm a little top heavy, but that's okay. Now, with our pieces that go in order here, I'm going to take this piece here and it's going to glue to this side here. Then this one is going to glue right there. And then this one will glue on the front. But you can see when the card is fully open, we still get this landscape piece of designer series paper. So this is my first, card to kind of show you a way to use this landscape paper. Sometimes we go, how do we use this? So when the card is closed, obviously you're just going to see that. So let's finish this. Okay, so let's glue these two pieces. I'm going to wait on that one for just a second. So let's glue this one down. So this is a fairly quick card when you have designer series paper that is like this. You can kind of, really put a card together fairly quickly with just a few added elements. So now let's take this one. We're going to glue this one right down like so. Whoops. It's just getting swirly here. And then this one, I'm gonna wiggle this one over just a little bit. I'm gonna kind of get this right up on the score line. Okay, that way when this one is here, I have a similar border in between, if you know what I mean. Okay, but I'm not going to glue this one down. So this one will end up sitting here on top of the card, right? And when it opens, it looks like that. However, when it flips back, we see all of this, and that's okay. It matches this. But it's a little, compared to the rest of the weight and the feel of the card, it's a little flimsy. So I'm going to take this piece of white and I'm going to back, and that's why I said it doesn't really matter how white it is. You could do the whole thing, but this was a scrap, so I was using up a scrap. And I'm going to line the back of this piece here so that when this opens, this has a little bit more durability to it. Okay, so let's just do a quick glue here. And like I say, it doesn't have to fit the whole piece. You could make it fit the whole piece, but using up what was on the table. Because I don't know about you, but I store my paper in a filing cabinet. I don't have all those fancy, pretty cubicles like some people have. It's just in a filing drawer. And my basic white is always the fattest file that I have. Okay, so I'm just going to give that another quick crease. And now this one, you're going to set this one, and you're going to want to line it up so that you're covering your white nice and clean. Hello, Kim. She has popped on. Okay, so here you can see it's kind of like a triptych fold here that we have, so we can see all of those patterns across the paper. So now that we have a fun card base and we've used the paper, to me, at its fullest, it's the star of the show. Let's add a little bit of decor to this. So I have another piece of Lost Lagoon, and this piece is 5 1/4 inches tall, and it doesn't really matter. You could make it the full width of this or just what shows. It's up to you. Again, this was a scrap, and I'm thinking, hey, that's the right size, so I'm going to use it. This one's 1 3/4 inches wide. I'm going to emboss this with an embossing folder. And the embossing folder I'm going to use, in fact, Kim, maybe you know the name of this one. Is it just plaid? 3D plaid? I don't even remember. But it's a new folder. It is part of the Reindeer Days Sweet Collection. And this is cool. This is really, it's moving into a favorite slot for me. So I'm just going to put my piece of paper in there, my Lost Lagoon. I'm going to run this through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And because it is a 3D folder, my sandwich will be plate 1, folder, and I'm going to go through this direction with that folded edge first, and then plate number 4 on top. And there's a glare right on there. All right, so that's going through the machine here. Let me show you how cool this is. So fun. I love it, love it, love it. For those of you who are participating in the Sophisticated Sled class, I will be embossing some of this for you so that you can see that in real life because it is being used on one of the cards. Oh, look, I don't need Kim to help me. I mean, she can. Problem is, I'm not seeing any comments. What else is new? Thank you, Facebook. It's Forever Plaid 3D embossing folder. So that is the name of it. You know, I used to throw these away, and I've now started to save them. So, you know, because I'm not one to keep stuff. Like, I unpack it and I use it. But I'm starting to save those just so that I know what the names are. Okay, so I'm going to add my Forever Plaid right here. And this is just some nice, fun, added texture to the front. So it will look like that. So we've given this a little bit of interest without pulling anything from here. Okay, so for this card, I am using the Friends for Life stamp set. And I'm going to use the Friends for Life dies. And so ahead of time, I've done a little bit of chopping so that you don't have to see me spend a ton of time. I will be... Oh, dumb dog. Livy. People are walking by. Hold on, I'm going to let her out just so she stops barking. Go outside and work. Go on. Let her bug the neighbors instead of our class. Is that terrible of me? Okay, so look at the dies I'm going to use for this one. I'm going to use the heart. I'm going to use the friend. And I'm also going to use the friend shadow. And actually, this could be the shadow for the more detailed piece here. But this piece also fits the word friend. Well, this is shown smaller. It does fit the stamp as well. So you can kind of mix and match. But I'm going to be playing with this for this card. I really love these two dies here. I use them quite a bit. So I'm also going to use the word thank you. It's just going to be thank you, friend. That is what I'm going to stamp. So our stamping is going to be fairly easy today. And I'm going to stamp the thank you on just a strip of basic white. I don't even know what the size is. It actually is a scrap from something I was cutting on something else. And I'm like, oh, I will use that. And I'm going to use Pretty Peacock. And my choice for Pretty Peacock, as I looked at the papers here, to me, the standout color is the Berry Burst. That's what I see first. But I'm going to use that in some other things. But I wanted to stamp the thank you with one of these two colors here. So I could use Mossy Meadow or Pretty Peacock. But to me, Pretty Peacock is this kind of darker shade of Lost Lagoon. So I selected the Pretty Peacock. Now that you know why I picked the color I did, pick whatever you want, right? So here's thank you. And I'm not going to over mush my ink. And I'm not going to over impress my greeting here. And I'm going to stamp it off to the one side. And I'm just going to go straight down. I'm going to tap the paper and come up. And I've got a nice clean impression. Sometimes when you overpress, you get a blurry impression, and that's no fun. It's kind of ugly. That is all the stamping I'm going to do on this card. The rest was pretty much die cutting. So I have the word friend in Berry Burst. So that is this die here. And I have the heart. And so here's what's cool. Let me punch the heart out. So this is the Berry Burst Old Olive and White Glimmer paper. So this die is what die cuts right here. But it also die cuts this inside heart. All you have to do is take your paper snips and go like that. So you get a twofer with this one here, okay? 2 for 1 right there. Okay, and the last thing is I've die cut the narrower, more detailed shape, word friend, out of the white that's from this same pack. So we saw these papers last month in the, and these are the ones I'm talking about right here. We saw these in the Changing Leaves class. This is called the Berry Burst Old Olive and White 12 by 12 Glimmer Specialty Paper. If you love glimmer, like I do, you'll love it. Put it on your next order. It's a good one to have on hand. Okay, so here's the word friend. I'm just going to pop that out. Now notice what's kind of hanging right in there, and that's the dot to the eye. So I'm keeping my eye on the dot of the eye. So let me just do a little bit of real technical stuff here and poke these out. That one comes out pretty easy. They all come out easy, but I found that with the glimmer papers, the little pieces inside hang on a little tighter than normal cardstock. Okay, so this is going to glue to there, and I'm going to use my precision glue here, but because I didn't put the lid on it, I have to do a little unclog action. Okay, we should be good to go. So I am not going to worry about putting a ton of glue on this. I'm just going to do little bits here and there in some key areas. And I don't want to over glue it because then it just kind of ends up getting all over the place. So just in those few places, and then we'll flip it over here and look how fun this is. I really like doing the white on color because then it looks like I've embossed, when in actuality I haven't. It's just Stampin' Up! Was so nice to give us 2 dies. Okay, so now that spot there, this is how I tackle that. I put a teeny tiny dot of glue there. I take my Take Your Pick tool, the putty end tip, and I'm gonna punch this out and place it right on there. And this finishes it up. To me, that adding that little dot there, you don't have to, but boy, does it look better and more complete when it's there. Okay, so my pieces are almost ready here. I need to give this one just a little bit of a trim. So let me grab my baby trimmer here. Do you guys have this little trimmer from a while back? I like this one. I think it was a celebration type of thing if you signed up or something like that at one point in time. But I like that for just that right there, just chopping little things. I also have a tiny piece of, and I'm not quite sure where it went. I had it. Now oh, there it is. I found it. It's a tiny piece of, and this is a scrap of Mossy Meadow. And this is going to I'm just going to highlight my greeting here just a little bit by adding a tuck of color right underneath that greeting. It's not the full length. I don't think it needs to be, but it's just a nice repetition of that Mossy Meadow. So I've got the Mossy Meadow there, then I've got the peacock there. So let's start to put these elements all together. I'm going to start with the heart because the heart's going to go down first. So I'm going to give the heart, just like I did on the word, I'm just going to kind of put some glue in a few areas. Just like that. And still, if you guys are commenting, I appreciate it. I do go back and read them. But for right now, they are not showing up. Okay, so my heart here, is just going to kind of play right about there. Okay, you could place it higher or lower, it doesn't really matter, but we're just going to put that there like so. And then with the friend here, I'm going to add that with a few mini dimensionals. So the nice thing is these mini dimensionals fit in here just perfectly. And I'm going to wiggle this one down here to the bottom. And then we'll put this on. So this card, I'm actually going to finish with a little bit of linen thread and gems. Surprise! Not really, right? Okay, so here's the word friend. So what I really like are these two elements. They have enough strength to be a focal point, but they're not completely hiding my my paper here, which is really the focus. Okay. And I'm going to do some dimensionals. I'm kind of staying away from this end because it's going to hang over the edge. And so I'm going to tuck this. I feel like I'm maybe a little bit lower than I was. I mean, I have this a little higher than on my original. I do. I have it a little higher. That's okay. They don't have to be exactly the same. Okay, there's that. Now, linen thread. I like to store my linen thread. Usually there's like 4 or 5 linen thread spools in there, but I store it in a sugar shaker that you would see in a diner, coffee shop, restaurant, whatever. So I'm just going to tie a bow all the way around. See, I like this because it's, you know, I can just chop it right from here. There you have it. Dollar Tree or Amazon. Pick one of those up. It's kind of fun. It's a no-brainer. Okay, so I'm going to tie my bow. And I'm just going to tie a knot. I don't always tie a knot, but this time I'm tying a knot because I know for sure I like the way it looks there. When I'm trying to decide if I'm going to leave it or not, I don't tie it in a knot so that I can get it off and remove it. Okay, so there's a big ugly bow for right now, but let's style it. I like to hold my finger on the knot to keep things tight, but I'm untwisting my linen thread there and trying to get it to train to go the right direction. Okay, and then I'm just going to slide this back. Well, maybe I tied it awfully tight. I'm going to slide it back so it hides behind, and all we see is the bow. And I want that bow to kind of sit on the card right where the thank you is. So these elements are kind of, they're all coming together. There's a, you know, they collide, they intersect right here. And to me, that's the focus of the card. Okay, slip under there. Wow, 10 minutes just to get that to move. Sorry, folks. Okay, there you have it. Grab your ends, even them out. And super cute. Yet, to me, what makes this card interesting is the beautiful paper. Okay, not finished quite. Let's take a look at the adhesive back shiny sequins. So we use these in the changing leaves class. And so I'm just going to use some up here as well. And I'm going to put several on my card here. I'm going to do, let's do a large. I'm going to do a large right here on the heart and give it a friendly neighbor nearby. And I'm going to do another small. Nope, I'm going to do a large. Changed my mind. I'm going to do a large on that side. So kind of right on top of the heart. Then when the card is opened, I'm going to do a couple more here. I'm going to do a large like right here, and a small. And then I'm going to do one more large over, maybe down here. I'm going to do it lower than this one, just for fun. And I'm going to do a large, just right down in here. So it kind of goes doop, 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 doop. And that is it, folks. Just a fun, pretty card featuring the Thoughtful Journey DSP. And is that the actual name, Thoughtful Journey? I better make sure I'm saying it the right way. And of course, I don't know where I put the whole pack, where the back is. But yeah, you know, the paper, the one we're focusing on today. But the paper, these gems work well with this paper. Okay, so there is our first card, kind of a triptych. Here's the one I was working off of to the side. But what do you think? I think it's kind of a fun way to highlight the paper. And so that is a little closer look. You haven't seen me use Friends for Life. I've had it for a while, but I just recently busted out. I've used the dies a bunch, but I just recently pulled out the stamps. I'm like, oh, I've never even opened these. So that's just like, that's just sinful as a stamper to have a stamp set that you haven't opened. You got to open them all, right? Okay, Friends for Life. Moving right along, let's take a look at this piece of paper here. And I'm going to do another fairly simple, straightforward card with this one. But I'm also going to use a little bit of paper from here as well. And so I'm going to use this one for several projects. So let's see, this card, I'm going to use a different stamp set this time and a different set of dies. I'm going to use the Enduring Beauty bundle. I'm not using the masks and I'm not using this main focal image. However, I'm thinking this could be really pretty on some of these pieces and just die cut it and be done. And that would be the coloring, right? I'm actually going to use one of the greetings from this set. I'm going to use Embrace the Beauty of You. And I'm going to use a couple of the dies in here. So when you're having the paper be the star, look through your collection of things that you have in your library. And so I was basically on the hunt for leaves or trees or whatever it might be in my library of stuff, looking for things that kind of fit the vibe of this paper here. And so to me, I felt that these leaves here, that was exactly what I was looking for. So I'm going to do a little bit of die cutting, and I'm going to die cut, and I haven't done these ahead of time. And so I'm looking at this piece here, and so I kind of want to concentrate down here in this corner and do some die cutting of leaves. I just need 2 sets. And the nice thing is that these are doubles, right? So I'm going to do them right down in there because I feel like if I use those colors, it's going to work well on this card. So let's die cut these first. So we embossed that first card. So now I've got to put all my plates back together. I typically keep my plates, you know, plate 1, 2, 3, and then another 3 ready to go. I have to kind of pull everything out to do embossing. So I'm usually set for die cutting because I do a lot more die cutting than I do embossing. Okay, so that's what I've done there. And let's see, got one stuck to the plate. See, look how good that looks with this paper. So one more set of leaves here, right there. Okay, so that's all I'm going to do with those. And with this here, so Enduring Beauty, the dies for Enduring Beauty have this great label, and this is a nice standard size label. And so what I've done is I have die cut one out of Petal Pink. And look how nice that looks with Petal Pink. Okay, so we're going to come back to this piece in just a little bit here. But for now, let's work on our card. So you don't need to see, we're done with this. That's a great standard die just to even have around and use for other things. Okay, let's see. We're going to have we need a piece of white. This is going to be for the inside of our card. And then my card base here is going to be Cajun Craze. So I selected Cajun Craze because I'm kind of looking at this dominant color down in here. So that's why I picked Cajun Craze. And this is going to be, this is just a half a sheet of cardstock. And then I'm going to score it to be a side fold card. So we're scoring at 4 1/4. Nothing magic there, nothing crazy and wild, just your basic layout, card layout. So that's 8 1/2 by 5 1/2 scored at 4 1/4. And then this piece here is going to layer inside. Easy enough, right? In fact, we could do that even right now. I'm just going to go ahead and glue that in there. I didn't used to always put a white layer inside, and then when I'd go to use the card, I would always have to do it. I've gotten into the habit of just doing it now. That way it's ready to go. Okay, there is my card base. For this piece here, I'm going to trim off and make it be 5 1/2. So I'm going to just take this top piece off. So we're going to take off 1/2 inch because this paper here is 6 by 6. So it's going to be 5 1/2 by 6. Okay, save that. You could use it on the inside if you want. You don't have to. Now, with this piece here, I'm going to score it at 4 1/4. Okay, so get my cutting blade out of there. 4 1/4 is the magic number. Okay, and before we add this to the card base, I'm going to take a bite out of this side. So out of the right side, I'm going to punch a half circle. Not even a half, but like a third a circle as an engagement notch. And so we'll fold this just like so. Give it a nice burnish, and there you have it. And we'll add this to the front of our card. Now, I want to talk about this. See how this edge is showing here? If you're okay with that, and it's kind of pretty to see that sliver of Cajun Craze, then leave it like that. If you want it to go all the way to the edge, then take your trimmer out and just give, so here's my card, right? I'm going to give just a little bit of a trim to my card base here, not a lot, just about what I was seeing, that hairline. Okay, hopefully that's enough. Watch, it won't be. It's better to cut too little, so you go back and cut a little bit more than to cut way too much off. But that is better. I could get it even closer, but I'm going to go with this. This is good for horseshoes and hand grenades, right? Okay, so let's glue this on. But as we put the glue on, I can put glue all over this, but I'm just going to do a little bit of glue here and here because that's going to form a pocket. I'm just looking at this piece of paper right here. This is really pretty. Pretty paper. Okay, still can't see comments. So I am thinking, I mentioned it last time, I'm thinking of doing these classes in YouTube because this is so stupid these days. It's driving me crazy. So don't be surprised if you see a change. Changes are coming. Okay, so I'm going to slip this right onto my card base. Okay, just hug that right around. Okay, so what's pretty with this layout is we still see all of that paper, and then we even carry it to the inside. So that is kind of pretty there, like that. I want to do, speaking of inside, you know, you don't have to do it, but I could take a little bit of this and maybe stamp some of the leaves. Problem is I don't have a block big enough. So, well, let's see what we can do here. I'm going to take my stamp off the packaging. I have a smaller block. Okay, this is on the fly here. I really want to get some of these leaves. So let's go like this and get these leaves. So at least the leaves are on the block. And I'm going to get Cajun Craze. We're going to do a little stamping with Cajun Craze just to give the inside a little bit of decor. Not much. I'm just going to hit the corners, okay, right down the side with a little bit of Cajun Craze. And I'm going to stamp off. And then I'm just going to do, well, just kind of like so. Just giving it a little bit. So look at that. I'm not even using a full block. You're like, what the heck is that lady doing? It's called making it work. Nice. That's all I'm going to do. Just that much. And that will be a nice tie to the shape of leaves that will be on the front of the card. So use your stamps in ways less expected. And that is, you know, this to me is the star of the Enduring Beauty stamp set, right? But I've just used it in a little bit of a different way. Let me give this a quick clean so I can put it back in the case. Okay. Okay. This I need back on the block for one of our other projects. Okay, let's put this card together. And this is going to be a super easy card. I need some Cajun Craze. Shouldn't have closed it. And I have one of the greetings from the Enduring Beauty stamp set. This is the one that says, "Embrace the beauty of you." Okay. And I'm going to tap, tap, twist, tap, ink up my image. And I'm just going to straight down, straight up stamp in that solid color of Cajun Craze my tag. Look at, super pretty. It just, I love the, you know, the font, you know, there's no serifs on that. And then with the handwritten, so yes, the serif font with the handwritten font, pretty pretty. Okay, I just put my whole finger into the Cajun Craze pad. Okay, this is getting some dimensionals. Really? Surprise! Dimensional. And I'm going to move to minis, and I'm going to put some minis on the back of my leaves here. Okay, just right there. It's going to tuck underneath, and so you won't even see it. So this is a very, very typical, standard, straightforward layout that we're going to do here. And we're just going to kind of pop it right here in the upper right corner so that these, you know, it almost looks like wheat, but it really reminds me of a picture that we took on a beach in Cape Cod. So, and it was, you know, wind was blowing, so I kind of wanted to still be able to see it. So let's put this together. Real easy. And I'm just going to bring this over about to there. Yeah, that's where I want it. So I'm keeping it, you know, straight, or I'm trying to keep it straight, which means I got to do an adjustment. Sorry, folks. Just a little higher. Okay, now it was slightly crooked. And I'm going to tuck one leaf kind of right up in here. And then the other one right here. Like so. And then in this little area here, oh, you know what? I'm going to have the angle of this a little weird. Hold on. It's like performing surgery. Hold on. Let's get it right. How the heck did I do that? I must have used... Okay, well, that's just wonky weird. We're just going to get it. There we go. It's better. It's not exactly like my other one, but I had a scrap of, this is kind of the rust color from the Natural Tones linen thread. And I had this piece, it was twice as long on my desk. And so I cut it in half and I used one on my original and I'm going to use one right here on this card. Okay, so I'm just tying a bow. Pull on the ends. Again, I'm holding that knot in order to keep my linen thread from twisting and to give it some shape. I'm going to hunker down on it. Okay, and I'll put a glue dot on the knot and then I'll just tuck it right under in there and that will fill that kind of wonky space right in there. Okay, and so I'm just going to kind of lift that and tuck this right in there like that. This end's a little long, so I'm just going to give it a quick little trim. And to finish this one, we will, oh, you guys, here she is. She's in the house. Let me get this one primed and going. I'm going to give a little splatter to this. Okay, I like that little bit, those little sparkles of, there you can see some of those, of that Wink of Stella, because it does help to kind of bring this to life. And I'm going to go back to these dots here. And look how pretty, look, you could use the yellow. Whoops. Okay, that's weird, it's my hair. I'm going to use this peachy color, this petal pink color, and I'm actually going to do, I'm going to do a 5 on here. Okay, so I like to kind of start by hiding one, partially obscured by the label, and then I'll do another one right there. And let's see here. Let's do another large down in here. So I've got kind of a triangle formation working here. And now I'm going to buddy this one up and this one. So let's add another small out here. And we'll do another small kind of right up in there. Okay, so keeping it clean and easy. Here's my original that I was working off of. What do you think? I think the paper still totally, you know, can be seen. It sings, it's part of the show. This one, you can see I did something a little different. I added some of that leftover paper, just kind of playing around, you know, doing different things. But I thought, you know what, I think I want to stamp, and so that's why I did some stamping on this one. Hey, I can see, Kim said such a pretty card. I can see a comment, and it's only taken 53 minutes. Lovely. Okay, so yes, easy, easy. All right, so that is card number 2. Let's do card number 3. Card number 3, I'm going to feature this paper here. And whoo, this is a pretty, pretty paper. I love the colors in it, especially these right down in here. To me, Wild Wheat, Pretty Peacock, Mossy Meadow, good combo, good combo. Okay, so speaking of good combo, there are those colors in Stampin' Blends. And this time, instead of Enduring Beauty or Friends for Life, I'm going to go to Citrus Blooms. And the reason I chose the Citrus Blooms for this card is because if you remember the dies for this particular bundle, that's not it. This has a lot of leaves in it. So let's take a closer look. Look at all of these leaves right here. So I'm going to use these two. These two are, to me, the star of the show in this citrus bundle. And then I'm also, while I'm here, I'm going to leave this die out. This will be for another card, but let's just keep it handy. I also want that. Oh, man, there's a whole bunch of dies in here. We're going to use all of those. The only thing we're not going to use is the orange or the lemon. So with this right here, I have already pre-cut myself one of these. So with these two dies, I ran them through at the exact same time. This is basic beige. So I have a basic beige frame. And I'll tell you, I started this card and I just cut this one out of the cover, out of the card front. But I decided it was hiding too much of the paper. So then I chose to make it be a label just on top. So just FYI, I thought, hey, the paper is the star of the show here. So we got to keep it that way. Okay, so I'm going to go back to, actually, nope, I'm not going to go back to another piece of paper. Let me show you where I'm going to cut a lot of my images from. So here is my paper that I used. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut, and I'm trying to remember where I cut. Okay, so this time I'm going to cut this side of the card off. So I'm going to cut some of that away. You bring my trimmer in here. I will get to those, I promise. So I want my card base here. We're going to make this be 5.5. So I'm going to take a 1/2 inch off the top. And I want this side of the paper. So I'm going to cut, I'm just going to rotate it and cut it to 4.25 by 5.5. This piece here, I am going to use this piece for some of my leaves and things. And I have a few other leaves and things cut out already from some other pieces, just so you don't have to see. But I wanted you to see that here I've got enough paper for my card front. Plus I'm going to stamp, I'm going to die cut a few of these right here from the DSP. And so I'm just going to run these through so that I have these. But I have some more on hand because it's going to take several to get around on this card here. So let me run these through. So the name of the game on this one is you don't have to die cut, and like the previous card, you don't have to die cut from cardstock. Just dive right in and cut from these pieces. And then you have some interesting leaves and things that have some cool colors to them. So look at these. See? Isn't that pretty? Okay, so that's just going to set in the side here. Let's poke some of these jobbies out. Here's another pretty one. And then we have those two. So I can put these away for now. Well, let's get these off the plate here. And I'm going to put this back in the folder so I don't lose them, because I've been known to lose stuff. And I'll leave some out, and I'm like, I have no idea what set this goes to, but it's a cute little banner. It's been sitting out. So these two here, I'm actually going to use on our next card. So I'm going to keep those out. And then these here, I've done some more die cutting. And let's see, what page did I die cut from? One of these pieces, here it is. Okay, so here's one of the pieces that I used. So see this one with the wild wheat, and the front had some cool colors. You can see I did some die cutting there, but I wanted some wild wheat flowers. So I have those ahead of time here. Let's see. Here are some more leaves. You're going to need a handful of leaves, so I've got some already pre-done. Got a whole bunch pre-done. And then I also die cut 3 of the flowers out of the wild wheat, out of this piece here. So it's part of the pack. Just, I'm going to pull all that off because it's getting tangled in stuff. So just have some fun die cutting. Different pieces on hand. Okay, now I think I have what I want. So you can kind of see where I found these little flowers. They kind of look like starfish right now, but they're going to be flowers. And I'm going to put these away as well. Okay, cool. Now I think we have a good portion of what we need. We need a card base. And so my card base is thick basic white, half sheet, and I'm going to score it right down the middle at 4 1/4. So nothing wild and crazy here. Just like the other one. There's my card base. And let's give it a good crease. And this piece, I'm not going to do anything to it. I'm going to simply add it right to the front of my base. The cool thing with this one, I'm still seeing all this cool paper, but when it's open, I have a white inside. So I cheated. A little less cardstock. Look how pretty this piece is. Again, it's that Mossy Meadow, Wild Wheat, Pretty Peacock. That's a good color combo. Okay, Wild Wheat, you either love it or you hate it. I love it. I use it a lot. Okay, so here we go. Adding this to the front. Okay. I mean, to me, they're right there. It's pretty. You don't have to do a whole lot to it. This is going to layer on top, but I want to give this is so rich with colors and there's a lot of depth. And this is pretty. It's, you know, there's some detail to it, but it's a little flat. So that's why my blends are out. So my blends are out because I want to give this a little bit more dimension. So where's my scrap paper? Bring that back in. Lovely scrap paper, right? And I'm going to splatter knock on this whole thing. So splatter, I could take this and, you know, use the lid and splatter, but I was destroying my blends. So now I'm just going to make a very obnoxious sound here. And splatter this basic beige piece of paper with first Wild Wheat, and it doesn't matter, light or dark. Then I'm going to move to Old Olive. It's kind of crazy. And then the last one is Pretty Peacock. Okay, that's it. Done with those. But so, I mean, you can't really totally see it on here, but if I bring this piece up, that's a cool technique right there. I don't know if you guys, here you can kind of see it. But I've done this with lots of different techniques, different types of things. But it just now, this piece isn't quite as, you know, just, it has a lot more interest and life to it. So now I'm going to take this and we're going to glue this right to the front. Okay. So, and again, just kind of like some of the other dies, I am not putting glue all over the place. You know, it doesn't need to be Fort Knox. It just needs to be enough that it's going to stay down. Okay, just, you know, find a few key areas and add a few dots of glue here and there. That should do. And then add this, and I'm going to center it. Or thereabouts. Close. And so I'll just kind of tack this down. And if I feel like there's spots that aren't staying down, I'll just kind of reach in there and add a little bit more glue. All right, so you can see, we can still see our paper, which is our focus today. Now, what I'd like to do is start to, and I'm going to bring in, well, I think I might need just a little bit more glue. Okay, so when I need a little bit more glue, this is what I do. I take a scrap, I put a little glue on the tip, and I just kind of reach in, give it a little touch. Where else was it popping up? Right there. Maybe just a little bit more. So just rub that glue in there. Okay, now it'll stay. So I'm going to bring in my original here. And so that way you can kind of see where I'm going to go with this. Originally, I did it with a white leaf. So we're going to see here if we like the basic beige or the white. I always say doing a card a second time gives you a chance to make some changes here. So I kind of have a, it's not a full wreath, but it's kind of like it's a horseshoe wreath. So I've started here and I've just layered in some of those leaves that are from the paper. So let's do that. And then you can see I finished it off with a few flowers. So let's assemble this all. I'm going to start to assemble. So here's my sugar shaker jar of linen thread. I'm going to start with a linen thread. We'll just do a little bit of a bow action there. And the reason I'm starting with the linen thread is because this linen thread bow actually becomes, I'll tell you, I'll explain myself in a second here. I can't tie a bow and talk deep. Okay, so the bow, the reason I'm starting with the bow on this is because, okay, and it's not totally even, so we'll just do a little trim action. Okay, so my bow is actually, it's kind of the starting place. This is where my leaves are going up, and then my leaves are swinging down and around. So that's why I've started with that bow. And so, come on, twisting it, telling it to, to be cooperative here. Okay, so my bow is going to kind of go right in that area there. Then that kind of directs me that I'm going up and I'm coming down and around. Now, let's see if we end up doing the same sort of thing. Can't always do it exactly the same because, you know, I don't always cut the leaves exactly the same, right? So I'm just kind of working this. And I'm dry fitting for right now. I think I really like the beige because these leaves were pulling in those colors just a little bit more. It's not quite as like in your face. Okay, coming around the corner here. So if I can just get some of these in place, kind of up in here and in here, then I can kind of start to really glue them down. So there's not too much. It's not too difficult here. I think I'll beef that up right in there. And I feel like I could maybe even beef that one up. So let's see here. I have added, or will add, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Do we need to make it an even 10? We'll see. Anyhow, what do you think? I think it's kind of pretty. It's very different. Haven't seen a card out there like this one. It's kind of the goal, right? So let's just start to glue these down. And I'm not going to glue them down 100%, just like all of the other things here. I'm going to just do the stem and the base of the leaf. Okay, I'm going to kind of move that out of my way for right now. Let's work this side. You're a quiet group today, and I can read the comments. That, or I could only read that one of Kim's. But what have you guys been up to? Okay, bringing that one around. I'm just trying to tuck it in so that you don't see the stems. I would call that, you know, I don't want you to see the mechanics. Okay, there's this leaf. And this one. Right about there. And a couple more up this side. And then this one right here. I think I want to scooch that one a little higher. There we go. Okay, basic beige or white, as you're seeing it come together. This one has the leaves were, the leaves in the frame were cut from basic white. This one I did it from basic beige. It's barely cooperating. It took 53 minutes before I saw a comment. Glad you're here, Karen. Olive is here. Hey, Olive Barnes. Long time no see. Or chat. Or, you know. You like the basic beige. I think I'm leaning to the basic beige too. You know, sometimes when we start things, we just kind of automatically think white. And, you know, maybe it's just not always the answer. Sometimes we just have to trust our gut and go with a different color. This is one of those packs of paper. It's kind of like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get, right? This is kind of, it's fun. It's different for sure. And I mean, look how different this card is from our first card. And one last little sprig right up in here. Okay. There we have it, folks. Now, I'm going to add just a little puddle here of glue for my linen thread. Get that right in there. I wish my bow were just a little bit longer, but oh well. And we'll let that set up. And then I have my flowers here. And so I'm going to do my typical flower detail here. Yeah, it is softer, Karen. I agree. So I'm just putting these little flowers right in my hand. The nice thing is they just kind of automatically turn into like these 5 petals when you do that, just because of the nature of what the die cut shape is. So just kind of put that in there. Do a quick scrunch with your bone folder. You could also use the stylus shape or the stylus end on your take your pick tool. And so there are my flowers. Now, I'm going to use a combination of things here. I'm going to use some of, these are the metallic, what is the name? Adhesive backed metallic gems. So you saw me use these. I don't remember what I used them for. Oh, I know, it was our paper pumpkin kit this month. But I'm going to use this nice big guy. This is the gold. So see, I'm fully out of the small copper. But so there was copper, gold, and silver. Yeah, because of that paper pumpkin kit, I've used a lot of these. And so these 2 smaller flowers, I'm going to put the smaller gems in there. Just like so. Okay, those are ready. Do you have these? I think they're nice because they're bigger than a sequins, but they're fairly low they're more of a mid profile. So like the silver and smoky gray, or the basic gray smoky slate pearls that we have that are part of the Country Woods suite, those are really puffy. These are kind of, they're more dimensional than a sequin, but they're not quite as crazy puffy as the others. Okay, I've lost my bow here. Let me just give it a quick. You will go that way. Okay. All right, now I'm going to add my flowers here. Maybe my bow is too low. Okay, there we go. Okay, we're just going to try and hold it together with the flowers. So I'm just going to do a couple of flowers right up in here. I'm going to hide one or kind of tuck one up in this area. Maybe right in there. And then this one will kind of balance right there. So pretty. Okay. There's that. Now we need to do a little bit of stamping. You can see I've got some stamping right there. So I'm using Pretty Peacock, You could use Pretty Peacock. I think you could maybe even use Night of Navy, but I was feeling the peacock more than the navy. You're the best kind of person. And this came right out of the Citrus Bloom stamp set. I just feel like this stamp set jives with this paper for me. I get the same vibe off of it. Okay, you're the best kind of person. And this is going to set right up in here. You know, I played around with this one, putting a label in here and that sort of thing. But I felt like I really wanted the paper and the design of the kind of this laurel wreath type thing on its own. I didn't want, I didn't want another label on here. So I have to point out, I did add, there's some sequins in here. So I don't typically combine gems, but I did this time. Break your own rules. It's okay. So let's see here. Here are the shiny sequins. You could do the yellow or you could do the kind of the petal color. Either one I think works. I'm going to do this one. And let's see. I just kind of sprinkled them a little bit of everywhere as if they were berries in my wreath here. So I'm just going to kind of set one right in there. And let's see, there's a big one hiding in there. Just kind of tuck them right in the leaves, kind of in behind. And there's another one. It's kind of fun going on this little journey, on a little hunt to find them. But you get in there. Okay. And I have two. I have a large and a small here. It was just a matter of, I think this felt a little naked when I made this one. So we'll do another one kind of right there. Oh, these two ended up side by side. I don't like that. Do you guys do that? Change of plan. Maybe this one just needs to move up a little. Yeah, we'll move it up. We'll move it over here. There we go. Lift this. Oh, I'm about to throw this one away. You like using different embellishments. You don't often do it too, but when they do, they look fab. Yes. Yes. I don't always mix my elements, but when I do, I drink Dos Equis. Sorry. Not that I drink Dos Equis, but it makes me think of that commercial. Okay, and let's do one more, just kind of right up in here. Okay, so there's that, and it's got to be sterilized, right? Wink of Stella looks great on this paper, and then I'm going to fluff my flowers just a little bit, but not too much because I don't want to pull them up on off. Okay. So there it is with the white or with the basic beige. I like them both, but I'm like you. I think I like that one better. And I haven't done anything on the inside of this. I'm just going to leave it blank. But that's card number 3. And I do have card number 4. Because these went a little faster, I thought, well, let's do another one. So this time, I'm going to use 2 pieces of this. And this color right here, I don't know what it is. It's kind of like a mix of wild wheat and berry burst, but I would like that color right there. I don't know if it's petal pink or what it's supposed to be, but I really, really like it. So you're going to need 2 pieces of this paper, and we're going to cut them both exactly the same. You're also going to need 2 pieces of cardstock. You could do 2 olive or 2 white, but I'm doing 1 Mossy Meadow, not olive, 1 Mossy Meadow and 1 basic white. Both of these need to be scored down the middle. So let's just do that quickly. So 4 1/4. And then 4 1/4 on this one as well. Okay, oh, keep the trimmer nearby. Keep the trimmer nearby. I'm going to take off a 1/2 inch off the top of both pieces. Now, it's important you cut these exactly the same, or it's not going to match when you get done. So cut them the same. So there's 5.5 by 6. Now I'm going to cut this to be 2 1/8. That's 2 1/8 by 2 1/8. This is left over. Okay, there are those two. Now, remember I said you have to cut them exactly the same, so let's do it exactly the same. 2 1/8 by 2 1/8. This piece is left over, which would make a nice bookmark actually. Because I mean, look at it. Angle the top, add something, be a nice bookmark. Okay. All right, let's start with our pieces here. I forgot a couple score lines on this. Each of these need one more score line. So I'm going to score 2 1/8 on one side of the mossy meadow. Okay. And I'm going to score 2 1/8 on one side of the basic white. And we're going to take this one and flip it around. So they're going to go like so, okay? Okay, so let's fold on all of our score lines here. We're going to fold and then fold back and give it a burnish. So this one started a lot like our very first card. Okay, same thing here. We're going to fold this in half, give it a burnish, and fold this one back and give it a burnish. Okay, and then the card is going to go together like so. But you can see we've got a gap in there. You see that gap? Okay, so what I want to do is I want to kind of eliminate some of that gappage there. And then to do that, I'm going to trim off some of my white. And let's bring this guy in. Let me rotate this around. And so I saw how much I needed to take off. So I'm going to do a little less than what I kind of saw. And let me dry fit my pieces together and see if that's coming up better. Okay. I still have a little bit of a gap, but that's okay. By the time we start to add things and move things around, it's going to be fine. Okay. So now let's do this. Let's glue our two pieces together here. So the reason I chose the white for the inside was because looky here, now I don't have to, put a piece of white on the inside. It's already there. So that's kind of why I chose the basic white. This is thick basic white, by the way. I could have used regular basic white since it already had a thick piece here. But okay, so there's my card base. Now these pieces are going to go on. Okay, you're going to do that. And you're going to open up and you're going to do that. Had to get it right. Okay, so you're just going to, this way we have two pieces of the same paper on the front here. So, and then when it closes, it's just one piece. It looks like one picture. So let's start by assembling these. And I'm going to go right up to that score line. Now, we might need to dry fit these, but hopefully we'll be okay and I think we'll still shut. So the reason I actually cut it is because when you put a piece on and then try and score it, it has a funny pucker. So I didn't want a funny pucker, if you know what I mean. So that's why I cut them. Okay. So let's get that right to that score line. Get that right in there. Okay. So there's my one side, and that closes nicely, it folds nicely. Let's do the same thing over here. I am going to start with this outside piece. Okay. Okay. Get it right up against that score line. And then this one here, we'll do the same thing. And we've got our pieces in place. And so yes, this uses 2 full pieces, 2 of the same design, but I think it's a cool, fun idea. Okay, so now when the card is closed, I gotta roll this one back a little, folks. I got it too far. Okay, wiggle that into place. Hopefully that, oh, I had a feeling that might pucker. Okay, we'll just train it, get it in there. Okay, there we have it. And so when the card is shut, you now see the full picture. Okay, different, but cool. All right, so this is the word best. I'm going back to the first stamp set from today, which is Friends for Life. I usually just focus on one stamp set. This has been kind of fun jumping around from stamp set to stamp set. This is Bubble Bath. And so I'm going to ink up the image entirely in Bubble Bath. Twist, twist, tap, tap. And this is Fresh Freesia. I'm going to add a little Fresh Freesia to my image with a blending brush. Okay, so I want a little bit of Bubble Bath and a little bit of Fresh Freesia. And I'm going to stamp this off to the side just a little bit, not too much. Best. Ooh, I like it. I like two-tone effects like that. I'm done with this ink pad and this ink pad. And I'm going to move to Blackberry Bliss and do the wishes. And so this is just going to come over here. Just like so. Best wishes. Easy stamping today, folks. And let's see, where are all of my gems that we've been using today? I'm going to use what's left over of these here, not too many. This pinky color. So I have 6. Perfect. I'll use 3 on the front and 3 on the outside. So let's do a big jobby. And I think I'm going to do a big guy, like right about, and I'm actually going to intersect with that. And here goes a small, kind of down here. And we'll do another small, whoops, right about there. Just for the inside. And on the inside of this, I do have this is Moody Mauve. And so I'll do just a little light. Just to kind of break up all of that just stark white. And let's do the same thing with the Old Olive. That's it. And Stella, where are you? Okay, so there's a little sparkle on the inside. You are welcome, Rose. Glad you've popped on. I don't know if you've been here the whole time because it doesn't always show me everything, but I'm glad you're here. Okay, this card is screaming for a belly band. So I have some Fresh Freesia here, and this is 11 inches, so it's a full sheet, by 1 1/4. And so I'm just going to start by doing a little wrap around here. So we'll just kind of, I'm going to wrap this around one side And we'll wrap around this side. Okay. And then I'm just going to do kind of whatever I can make a mark with. So I'll just kind of, now I know how much I need to cut off. There we go. And we'll glue our belly band together. And let's see, let's bring the card in. Bring it all around. Whoops, I really want it to go the other way. So I want it to glue to the back. So let me just do a quick flip over here. There we go. Okay, so a little bit of glue. Whoops, or a lot of glue. Just right there. Okay. So if you've popped on a little bit later, just a reminder, today is the last day to sign up for the Sophisticated Sled class. For those who were here at the beginning, you got a sneak peek of those cards. They're super pretty. They're fun. They're fun. And they've been designed, if you want to make them puffy, you can, but I'm also made them a little bit less puffy so that they are, you could do machinable. Okay, now this is just screaming for some ribbon here. And I have a little bit of the Petunia Pop ribbon. I really just love how we're getting Moody Mauve, Blackberry Bliss, Berry Burst, Fresh Freesia, Bubble Bath. We're just doing all of them here today. Fun times for sure. Okay, with my Seal Plus, this is just Seal. I'm going to do, maybe, just a swipe there. And I'm going to, let's just give a little there. And I'm doing it this way just so I can thin out my ribbon so I don't end up with a big knot. So we'll just give this a chop-ola right there. Okay, so just a belly band in kind of just a Liz Price style. I'm going to do a swoosh. So that's there, back and back again, like so. So a little bit more of the seal. I'm just going to do this a couple times on here. There, there. That should give me enough glue to adhere this down. And so I'm going to start up here, there, and we'll come up and then back down. Okay, looking good. I will trim those ends and everything, but we need something for this. And if you remember, I said, let's use this. This is from the Citrus Blooms. So I can see I have a few hanging pieces here from when I die cut my original. Okay, so we'll get rid of those. And I'm going to die cut. Let's see, we've had a bunch of pieces of paper that we've used. If you remember, on our second card, I die cut some leaves from this piece. But I think right in here is really pretty. And so I'm going to die cut this from this purpley petal pink area. So I'm going to put this through the machine here and get just what I need. And that is just a nice big cluster of leaves. So this time I'm blending a little bit of the Citrus Blooms dyes. Look at how pretty that looks with that. And let's see, I have a few other things on hand that I want to use here. I have a circle, and you could use any circle. This happens to be one from the Everyday Details, and this one measures about 1 7/8 inches across. And so it's just going to all come in just like so. let's glue the whole thing rather than dimensionals and getting because this card already has some thickness here, right? So I'm just going to add more seal. You could use Seal Plus. You could use whatever. And so I'm going to add this just like that. Look how pretty. Pretty, pretty, pretty. And we'll add this guy right on the center. Okay. I'm going to trim this puppy because it looks terrible. And we'll trim this edge as well. If I can get there. Okay, much better. Gave it a haircut. I also mentioned that I needed, I was using these. You only need one or the other. You don't need too many. So this little die here, this cute little floral, this is also from Citrus Blooms. We used this in a class a couple months ago. So I'm going to put these away now that, because I have those die cut ahead of time. But I'm going to put them away before I lose them or not know what they go to. You think, oh, I'll remember, but then you don't. Okay, so I have some of those flowers. Let's see, I just want one for right now. Probably only one. But no, I want the littlest one. I'm going to need the littlest one. Okay. So here's the littlest one. And it's out of Petal Pink. Okay. And then I have the word friend. So now we're putting the kitchen sink on this card here. So this is the word friend. This is the one I used earlier. But I also have it out of Berry Burst. So this is Berry Burst and this is Berry Burst Glimmer. Okay. Punch out all these little extra pieces. Now, instead of doing this as a drop shadow, I'm just using this as a dimensional, okay? We all know that it's much easier to just cut the word a couple times and glue them together and make dimensionals that way rather than trying to come up with some way to give this a little bit more dimension. Because I could put this on here and that's fine, but when I put it on there with a little bit of lift behind it, it just has a little bit more presence. And to me, it feels just a little bit more finished, which is why I like to do it that way. How about you? I don't think there are many projects that I've not done this. This one I'm only doing one layer. Sometimes I do 3 if I really want to give it some lift. Another way to give it just a little bit more lift is to use basic or thick basic white. Okay, so now when I add this on, I feel like it has just a little bit more substance to it. So let's glue it down. And you notice that it hangs off the edge, so I'm not even going to worry about some of these end parts of the word, the D and the F. Okay. There it is, folks. You know, it's kind of fun just mixing and matching a whole bunch of different things. I've enjoyed it. Okay, so this itty bitty teeny tiny little flower, we're going to do the usual, and that is even the little ones can get the little squish to it, right? Give it some dimension. I'm going to put it up here, right where the dot of the eye goes. There's that. And I'm just going to give a little impression into that. So there's my little dot. And you guys, you're going to go, this lady's nuts. But I did keep my eye on the dot, and it's right there. I'm like, don't lose the little dot to my word. Now, there's no way I want to try and put a dot behind that, another dot behind it. That's why I chose to do the little flower like that. I felt like, oh, that'll give it enough oomph. So, just like this. Plus, it gave a little bit of interest to this little front here. And again, go in there with your, take your pick tool. How cute is that? Cuteness. Okay, I did a little splatter on this as well. It's faint, but I think it really kind of just ties to the inside. But it makes that bubble bath circle not be quite so stark and flat. And of course we have to stylize. And I have 3 more of those gems. Anybody know where I put them? Here they are. Can't believe I found them. Okay, so let's add 3 more. And I'm just going to do a few to the front here. And so let's do a large, kind of right up in here. And a large down in here, and another small, just kind of right by this one. So just kind of typical of what I would do. You could have added more of these little flowers, but I didn't. And there you have it, folks. Here's my original here. So yes, you can take that belly band off, and there's the inside. I had to do a little work here because I cut too much off of my white. So I just grabbed another piece and kept the picture going, which I actually think is kind of cool. So what I did is I just cut a slice of that to cover my big old gap. So you just never know. There you have it. There, we did 4 today using this cool paper. So we have a fun belly band card. We have our wreath card and our simple pocket card. You know, the inside has that pocket there. And we did our triptych card that we started with. And that is today's class. Look at that. We did 4 cards in less than 2 hours, 1 hour and 42 minutes. How about that? These were a little simpler, but I think they're kind of fun. They're pretty. Just try the paper like this and have a good time. Let the paper be the star of the show, so to say. All right, folks, I will catch you next week. We are going to do our sophisticated sled class. Now, I'm putting it out there that I might make, instead of Thursday at 10 o'clock, I might do Thursday at 10 o'clock on Zoom, and I'll record it and then post it. I'm thinking of doing it that way so that we can have a little bit more interaction, especially since Facebook isn't like posting comments until halfway through or not at all. So it'll still be recorded, but I'm inviting you all to that Zoom session at 10. And so that would be the same number it always is. And I'll post that for everybody. Okay, there you have it, folks. Catch you next week. Thank you, Olive. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, everybody who has popped by today. And I will catch you next week for our sophisticated sled class, my favorite class of the month, technique time. See you then. Bye-bye.